Hey, friends. And we are back again. Today's question is something that I work with my clients very regularly about. And once they see that they're doing it and see how often it shows up in their lives and why it's showing up for them, it genuinely changes each and every relationship that they have and how they're showing up in the world. Hey, friends, this is Amber Chanel, your life and pleasure coach, and I am delighted to introduce you to Pleasure Starters, a podcast mini-series inviting you to explore your relationship to yourself, your circle, and their overall health. Every day for the month of January, I'm dropping a question that will invite you to see where you can tangibly create more pleasure in your life. Not just the sexual stuff, y'all, everything. If you think these questions light a fire under you now, just wait until our conversations in my one-on-one coaching program. My clients gain full life transformations in our work together by prioritizing their own pleasure. You can stick around to the end to hear more about that or visit ambertaylorcoaching.com/pleasure right now. Enjoy today's episode. Okay, so today's question is, where am I putting the opinion of others ahead of my own? Now, especially if you're socialized as a woman, you are taught to look to others for approval, for validation, for advice, for basically everything. We need to be approved, for lack of better words, by the people around us in order to feel safe. At least that's the narrative that our brain is playing. And we take it to an extreme when in reality, this was something that we needed at a certain point of time. We needed to be a part of the group. We needed to have others around us to survive. We needed to share workloads. We needed to share responsibilities and resources and all these things. It's only until the late 1900s where women were able to get their own credit card or have a line of credit, a line of business credit, get a loan without a male's signature. We needed people, especially men in our life, to approve of us for us to even move forward. However, that is no longer the case, and we can reclaim our power and the value of our own opinion. So, what do I really mean? What am I really getting behind with this question? Where am I putting the opinions of others ahead of my own? It can also be asked is, where am I ignoring my intuition? Where am I defaulting to society's regulations before my own wants and needs? How am I looking towards others for validation and support instead of creating that within myself? When you're putting other people's opinions ahead of your own, usually you're not even considering your own opinion as a source of knowledge, a source of strength, a source of reasoning, a like valid reason to do something. It's because we're like, oh gosh, that came from my head. Let's see what everybody else is thinking before we actually move on it. And that is the opposite of moving within your authenticity, because you thought of it for a reason. You want it for a reason. And even if that reason doesn't make sense, it still just deserves to be explored because it came from you. Now, you can decide, hey, I actually don't want to do this, but deciding I don't want to do this is different than ignoring the desire to do it in the first place. I have purple hair, and I know some people want that, but aren't even willing to do it for themselves. And that's coming from a place of, I don't want to make this decision versus I'm worried about what other people will think of me if I make this decision. Can y'all catch the subtle difference there? Well, it's actually not that subtle. It's a huge difference. The answer is still no, I'm not going to do that. But the reasoning behind it is so much different. It's no, I'm not going to do that because I'm not allowed. I don't have the power. I can't. It's very disempowered. Whereas the other side is I'm not doing this because I don't want to, is very empowered. Again, it's still a no, but it's what are your reasons behind the no? So that was just a quick example, but this phenomenon can span far and wide. It shows up in aspects all across your life. And oftentimes, you're not even realizing when you're making decisions from a place of lack or disempowerment or victimhood because of how other people may perceive that decision. So, the question for you is, where am I putting other people's opinions ahead of my own? What would it take for me to prioritize my own opinions, desires, and wants? All right, my friends, that's it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Pleasure Starters. That fire you feel in you, those gears turning, that reflection that you're now trying to figure out how to implement is exactly why you belong in my one-on-one coaching container, the Pleasure Priority. It's an hour a week completely dedicated to you and your desires. A safe space where you can come undone and get help with everything pertaining to you and your circle. Your circle being everything around you, aka your relationships, your job, your family, your past, your future, all of it. Wherever you're at in your journey, prioritizing your pleasure allows quantum leap level ups. Whether that's as a recovering people pleaser, in your romantic life, honestly, any relationship for that matter, in your 9-to-5, or in your own business. Deepening your spiritual journey, or even just trying new things. This work expands you into the version of yourself that you want to be. And I am an incredible facilitator of expansion and transformation. So take a look at the show notes to start this journey and book your free consult call with me. Join my email list so we can stay in touch. Until then, talk soon, friends.